The Embraer 190 communication system is composed of the radio communication system, the flight and interphone system, the passenger address system, and the static discharging system. The radio communication system enables the cockpit crew to talk air-to-air or air-to-ground via two very high-frequency radios. The system also provides digitized audio warnings to the cockpit crew. The flight interphone system enables communication among the crew and to ramp personnel. The passenger address system provides a means for the cockpit and cabin crews to make live announcements and to play pre-recorded announcements via cabin loudspeakers. Static discharging has two purposes: to prevent the dangerous effects of lightning discharge on the airframe, and to decrease the interference static electricity causes to radio communications. The communication system consists of several antennas on the aircraft, two VHF radio modules in two modular radio cabinets provide tuning, transmission, and reception. VHF-1 is dedicated to MRC-1 and VHF-2 is dedicated to MRC-2. The modular radio cabinets are connected via the avionics standard communication bus to the MAUs, MCDUs, display units, and other aircraft systems. Via digital audio and microphone buses, they are connected to three audio control panels, cockpit loudspeakers, headsets, and microphones. Two multifunction control display units on the pedestal are the primary means for selecting and tuning the radios. The radio page, which is the main interface, allows selecting frequencies and creating different setups. The control cursor device and the primary flight display are the secondary means for selecting and tuning the radios. Three audio control panels, one for each crew member and one for the observer, provide the microphone and audio selection for all audio communications to and from the cockpit, including aural warnings. Audio Control Panel 1 is powered from DC Essential Bus 1, and Audio Control Panel 2 from DC Essential Bus 2, while Audio Control Panel 3 is powered from DC Bus 1. The microphone selection buttons enable the pilot to speak from any radio. A light illuminates inside the button to indicate that it is pressed. Only one microphone selection button can be selected at a time. The audio selection buttons enable the pilots to listen to any radio, navigation aid, or interphone channel. A light illuminates inside the button to indicate that it is pressed. Any number of selections can be made simultaneously. The telephony buttons on the right, emergency, ramp, cabin, are set up with a hot mic which provides interphone communication on a telephony basis. A light illuminates inside the button to indicate that it is pressed. More than one telephony button can be selected at a time. The audio selection button above the display enables each crew member to listen on either the speaker, interphone, headphone, or passenger address. A light illuminates inside the button to indicate that it is pressed. More than one selection is possible. The volume control knob allows adjustment of the most recently selected audio. In case of an audio control panel failure, a backup volume knob allows pushed-out bypassing of the audio panel and volume adjustment. The auto mask mic is a pushed-in switch. Pushed out, it activates the oxygen mask microphone manually when auto mode fails. Several line replaceable units are in the cockpit for the pilot, the co-pilot, and an observer. There are boom sets, handheld microphones, and mask mics for transmitting. For receiving, there are headphones and loudspeakers. To activate transmission via the microphones, there are push-to-talk, hot mic switches on each yoke, and one push-to-talk button on each side of the glare shield. Three jack panels are located in the cockpit. The observer's jack panel has an integrated push-to-talk hot mic switch. Air-to-air and air-to-ground radio communication is established by the flight crew via two VHF COM modules. They are located in the modular radio cabinets. Two MCDU and three audio control panels provide channel selection in the MRC via the MAU. The system has an automatic transmit timeout to prevent blockage of a communication channel if a mic boom push-to-talk button is for any reason stuck active. All communications via the audio control panels are recorded in the cockpit voice recorder portion of the DVD-R. The MCDUs provide the primary means of tuning the radios. Via the radio button, the pilot has access to the radio page 1 of 2, and via the next or previous button to radio page 2 of 2, and vice versa. To change a frequency on the radio, the pilot has three possibilities. First, the pilot could write the new frequency into the scratch pad and swap it directly to the active or standby frequency on the required radio by pressing the respective line select key. Second, the pilot can press the line select key next to the standby frequency to move the cursor box over it, if it is not already there. Then the pilot changes the standby frequency by turning the lower knob to change the high portion and the upper knob for the lower portion of the frequency. To swap the new standby frequency to the active, the pilot presses the active frequency line select key with the swap symbol. The third possibility is using the memory part of the COM detail page. To access the page, the pilot makes sure the cursor box is on the desired radio standby frequency and presses the line select key with the triangle arrow prompt. To select a memory frequency, the pilot can scroll through the frequencies by turning the knobs. To activate a memory frequency, the active frequency line select key is pressed. Up to 12 memory frequencies may be stored on the radio memory page. On the MCDU radio page, the pilot tunes the frequency and then selects the corresponding microphone and audio channel on the audio control panel. To activate the tuned radio on the audio control panel, the pilot pushes the respective microphone selection button. On the display, the radio title is shown with a number between 0 and 100 denoting the volume. By pressing the push-to-talk button, the pilot can now communicate on the selected radio through the boom set, handheld mic, or mask mic. To adjust the volume, the pilot turns the volume control knob. To deselect the actual radio, the pilot presses the respective microphone selection button again. The light in the microphone selection button will extinguish and the display reverts to the previous indication. When the pilot selects a microphone selection button while another one is active, the active radio transmission is disabled and the light in the microphone selection button extinguishes. To change the volume on the previous radio, the pilot must select the audio selection button for the respective radio before turning the volume control knob. On the display, the previous title of the respective radio is shown briefly with a number between 0 and 100 denoting the volume. To deselect the audio from the previous radio, the pilot presses the audio selection button of the respective radio twice. The audio is disabled and the light in the button extinguishes. In case of MCDU failure, the cursor control device and the PFD can be used to tune the radios. The standby frequency may be adjusted by turning the rotating knob according to the MCDU. Pressing Enter swaps the two frequencies. In case of audio bus or audio panel failure, radio function can be restored by pushing out the backup volume control knob on the associated audio control panel and adjusting the volume by rotating it. This provides microphone switching directly to the VHF COM module and from VHF COM audio directly to the headphones. Note: only the on-side COM functions are available to the failed panel. When the oxygen mask mic is not working automatically, it can be switched on manually by pushing out the auto mask switch. In case a microphone push-to-talk button becomes stuck, the transmission will be inhibited after a certain time, and the audio control panel display will show a "stuck mic" message. Loss of communication on a bus is denoted by dashes in the radio tuning windows on the PFD and MCDU. The Flight Service Interphone System provides communication between flight deck crew and cabin crew, or among the cabin crew. There are two cabin interphone stations, one at the forward and one at the aft section of the aircraft. A cabin annunciation system provides visual indication for the flight attendant. To establish communication, the pilot pushes the cabin button on the audio control panel. The display on the audio control panel shows cabin call, and the cabin push button light flashes until the flight attendant picks up the call. If another audio panel is talking on the cabin interphone, the display shows busy. The microphone signal is routed to the cabin interphone stations, a chime in the cabin sounds, and the cabin annunciator illuminates. When established, the display shows the characters cabin plus a number between 0 and 100, denoting the volume. If the pilot selects another microphone push button, the cabin select push button remains lit. To return to this cabin, push button must be pushed again. For an incoming call, the cabin push button light flashes and a chime sounds. To pick up the call, the pilot pushes the cabin push button. At this time, its light stays on, and the display shows the characters cabin plus a number between 0 and 100, denoting the volume. After the call is completed, the cabin button is pushed again, the light extinguishes, and the display shows the last active radio. To establish an emergency call, the pilot has to press the emergency button. In the cabin, this initiates a triple chime, and the cabin annunciator illuminates. In the same manner, when the flight attendant pushes emergency on the cabin interphone station, the pilot will hear a triple chime and see a flashing emergency button on the ACP panel. To pick up the call, the procedure is the same as for the cabin interphone. The ramp interphone subsystem provides communication between crew and ramp personnel. There are 3 ramp interphone panels, one in the forward section of the aircraft, along with the external power AC receptacle, one in the mid-electronic bay, and one in the aft section of the aircraft, along with the external power DC receptacle. Each ramp interphone panel contains an interphone jack and a cockpit call push button to call the pilot. A ramp call horn is installed in the nosewheel gear bay to summon ramp personnel. It sounds when the push button on the cockpit left or right console is pushed. The passenger address PA system allows announcements to be made to passengers either by pilots on the flight deck or the cabin crew members at their stations. The announcements are heard through speakers located in the cabin and in the lavatories. The use of the PA system is prioritized. The announcements from the flight deck have first priority and override all others. The announcements from the cabin override the pre-recorded announcements, which override the music system. Announcements in the cabin are performed by lifting the handset from the cradle and pressing and holding the PA button. To make a passenger address from the flight deck, first press either the PA button on the center pedestal or on the audio control panel. By pushing the PA button on the center pedestal, the pilot can speak through his boom set or mask mic without hands, and with hand mic by activating push to talk. By pushing the PA microphone selection button on the audio control panel, the pilot can speak through any mic except the mask mic by activating push to talk. The mask mic is a hot mic. When the PA microphone selection button is selected, the light in the button illuminates. If push to talk is activated, the display shows PA-TX and a number between 0 and 100 denoting the volume. If another audio panel is talking on the PA, the display shows busy. To terminate the call, the PA microphone selection button is pushed again. The light extinguishes, and the display defaults back to the last active radio. The digital audio system provides the capability for communication between the aircraft and ground, between the cockpit and cabin, and among the cockpit crew. Two multifunction control display units on the pedestal are the primary means for selecting and tuning the radios. The radio page is the main interface, which allows selecting communication frequencies, navigation aids, and transponder settings. The control cursor device and the primary flight display are the secondary means for selecting and tuning the radios. 3 audio control panels, one for each crew member and one for the observer, provide the audio selection for all audio communications to and from the cockpit. They also provide aural warnings from the MAU and other systems such as TCAS. The desired channel is selected via different buttons on the ACP. The service intercom buttons enable the pilot to select any radio to speak. A light illuminates inside the button to indicate that it is pressed. Only one microphone selection button can be selected at a time. The audio selection buttons enable the pilot to select any radio, navigation aid, or interphone channel for listening. A light illuminates inside the button to indicate that it is pressed. Any number of selections can be made simultaneously. The telephony buttons on the right, emergency, ramp, cabin, are set up with a hot mic, which provides interphone communication on a telephony basis. A light illuminates inside the button to indicate that it is pressed. Flashing of the light indicates a waiting call from or to the respective station. More than one telephony button can be selected at a time, with a maximum of one microphone selection button active. The audio selection buttons enable the crew members to listen on the speaker, interphone, or headphone. A light illuminates inside the button to indicate that it is pressed. More than one selection is possible. The volume control knob allows adjustment of the most recently selected audio. The volume display shows a 4-character code and a number between 0 and 100, denoting the volume of the last active microphone audio channel or the newly selected audio channel for 15 seconds. An incoming cell cal is displayed when the cell cal, the microphone, and audio selection button lights flash. By pressing the cell cal button, all flashing lights are extinguished. In case of an ACP failure, a push-in, push-out volume knob allows unlatched bypassing of the audio panel and adjusting the volume. The auto mask mic is also a push-in, push-out switch. When pushed out, it activates the oxygen mask microphone manually when auto mode fails. For transmitting, there are boom sets, handheld microphones, and mask mics. For receiving, there are headphones and 2 loudspeakers. To activate transmission via the microphones, there are push-to-talk hot mic switches on each yoke, and one push-to-talk button on each side of the glare shield. 3 jack panels are located within the cockpit. The observer's jack panel has an integrated push-to-talk hot mic switch. The static discharge system offloads static electricity from the airframe to the atmosphere while the aircraft is in flight, and offloads static electricity to the ground when the aircraft lands. In flight, this prevents the dangerous effects of lightning discharges and decreases the interference on the radio communication and navigation. On ground, this system minimizes the risk of electrical shock to crew, passengers, servicing, and maintenance personnel. The system includes several static dischargers on the winglets and ailerons, rudder and elevator, and one discharger cable on the nose landing gear